What is up, YouTube? Silver Surfer coming your way again. This time with something you probably look at a little different here, huh? What do you see? That's paper currency right there, folks. Got the old red book, and I wanted to share with you guys my newfound hobby. As I mentioned in a lot of y'all's comments and whatnot, I was interested in paper currency. I've been interested in it now for a long time. Ever since I was pretty much started collecting coins, I thought, you know what? I like that stuff, but I also thought, it's a little bit too expensive for my blood. Won't be able to afford it. Well, lo and behold, I said, you know what? I'm going to get some books. I'm going to do some research online. And that's what I did. And I've come to find out that, hey, it is somewhat affordable and doable. And it's just been a fascinating run, man. I tell you what. Let's go flip through this book as I talk a little bit about the history of paper currency in general. In America, it traces its roots back to 1690. Massachusetts Bay Colony, we were in conflict in Canada, needed money to finance the war. And so they started the 13 colonies, printed different funds, money, if you would, and issued it as actual paper currency. That went through, and again, in 1775, we were in the Revolutionary War, as you recall. Once again, we found ourselves needing money to finance the war. And in May 10, 1775, Continental Congress passed a law to be able to print money. And so the colonial currency arose from there. And that went on for quite some time until the end of the war, because of the fact that, it was backed by a Spanish mill dollar and whatnot. The banks never had the money to even pay for it. They never had the currency within the reserves to pay for it all along. And so when the public found out and the banks went to go, the federal government went to go pay for its debtors, they didn't have the money on hand in hard sound money to finance that. And so that's where the term not worth a colonial actually comes from. Let's see if we can find some in this book of what the colonial currency looks like. But anyhow, so there we go. There's some for you. So that happened in 1775, and it took almost another 100 years, really from the Revolutionary War until the Civil War, 1861. Our country and people were very worrisome about any type of governmental printing of currency, and so there really wasn't any. There was, small amounts of private charter banks and stuff that issued funds during that time, but nothing along the lines of what we really had here again in the colonial currency. Not until 1861. Once again, we needed money to finance a war. This time, the Civil War, in the North needed some, the South needed some, and so they said, you know what, we're going to have to print funds. And that's exactly what they did. They started printing currency again in 1861. Was the demand note, followed by the Legal Tender Act in 1862. And then from there until pretty much current day, we have yet to stop printing it in different types of forms. So we've had anywhere from treasury notes to silver certificates, gold certificates, legal tender, United States notes, national bank notes, Federal Reserve notes. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So just a real fascinating history. Personally, I think it's very good time to get into currency collecting. I really do. Super undervalued. The highs of 2008 have gotten nowhere near reaching where they are. And it took a long time for it to even be a hobby in general. It wasn't until Mr. Friedman, and if you look down, you'll see these different numbers right here, 185 Alpha, 185 Bravo. These are all Friedman numbers, and basically a gentleman, I forget his first name, but Friedman was similar to the VAMs of how they identified each different Morgan dollar die varieties and had an organization, if you would, of currency. He did the exact same thing with, an organization of the Morgans. He did the exact same thing, Mr. Friedman, with these, with currency. And that was, I want to say back in the 40s or 50s. Don't quote me on the date. But anyways, the point of the matter is that once that happened, people started recognizing this as an actual hobby and started picking up this stuff and saving it and collecting it. Fast forward to today, I think a lot of coin collectors end up becoming currency collectors. I really do. Myself as an example of it. I'm probably, I would say, 50-50 now with currency and coins. I love my coins. I'll continue to collect them, but this stuff just has me hooked. And so like everything else, right, condition's a big factor in any of these types of things. And so I thought in the beginning, well, what the heck do I want to collect? I want to be focused. I don't want to just buy a bunch of random stuff and get screwed and not know what I'm doing. So I took my time. I read, I researched, I looked up different types of notes, searched through all these different books, read all these different books, from this red book to this 100 Greatest Currency, highly recommended book, by the way, right here, to read into that book. And, you know, I started seeing a common theme of what types of notes I wanted. And so I said, you know what, let me just do some further research. And then I started seeing that PMG, or Professional Paper Money Guarantee, folks that grade the currency, has registry sets similar to PCGS and NGC. And so I started looking through there and seeing how people have organized different, and there's no right or wrong way to collect, but I just wanted to see if there was already kind of a thing out there that would interest me. And there was similar, and something that did strike my fancy. And so I started on it, and I'm just about done. I've been working on this for about 6 months now, and yeah, it's super fast. But before that, I would say I probably researched for quite a bit of time. And anyhow, so like I said, I'm just about done, and I wanted to share with you guys a sneak peek, as that collection, the original one that started me in paper currency, has also spread to kind of complete other smaller endeavors. And this note under here is one of those endeavors. And so I won this thing online at a heritage auction the other day. I didn't think I was going to win it, to be honest with you, because I bid kind of lower, and it went for the top bid that I can, my maximum bid basically, with my 2 increments increases. But anyways, let's just get right to it, folks. Check this out, guys. Check this out. So when you get paper currency, most currency collectors, experts, they all tell you, man, first and foremost, you got to find something that's popular. If you don't find something that's popular, it's going to be hard to find the note a lot of the times. And if you ever did want to sell your collection, which I don't ever plan on doing, I'm hoping that this will go to my daughter, it has to be popular. Second best thing would be condition, of course. And for me, the very fine grade up there of 25 is a perfect little situation in which it's not too expensive, the note's not too damaged. All my notes that I have that are graded are all problem free. All of my notes that are over $100, except for 2, are all slabbed or graded, if you would, by PMG, Paper Money Guarantee. And I mean, look at this thing, guys. Look at this thing. And that's kind of my philosophy. So I'm putting together a set that matches well with in the very fine grade for notes that are super expensive, which this one is not cheap, I can promise you that much. But notes that are super, super expensive, I'm going with about a choice fine grade if I can find a nice problem-free example of it. So just as I said, this kind of was a spin-off from my original project that I almost have completed. And I have the final bid in for a note that ends on Tuesday, and I'm hoping that I can get that. But anyways, I had to complete the 1899 series, and so this was the final one I needed. The $5, one of the most popular notes there is. As a matter of fact, within the book here of the 100 greatest American currency notes of all times, that chief note right there, number 10, guys. Number 10, super, super popular. So anyhow, going back to this, a little history on this. Again, an 1899 silver certificate, $5 note. This was after the educational series, which I don't have, the $5 educational note. I'll be honest with you, even on this sneak peek here, and tell you that is considered to be the most beautiful note of all time existence. But this one, I think, is just super cool, super, super popular. This right here is said to be Mr. Running Bull, or Running Antelope, excuse me, of the Sioux tribe. And when they went to go engrave him and get his portrait, there was a big, huge controversy that ensued because his headdress was way too large for the engravers to get on the note. And so they ended up putting a different headdress on his portrait here. And it turned out to be a Pawnee or a rival tribe. So this led to quite a bit of conflict for some time afterwards. Pretty interesting indeed. Up there you can see it's certified that there has been deposited in the Treasury of the United States of America 5 silver dollars, bearer on demand, Washington, D.C. We have the treasurer's signature, Mr. Frank White. And over here, we have the register of the Treasury, which is Elliot. You'll see the note says Mule, and it's a Freedman 280. Just like I said, he was the guy that kind of organized all this stuff. No fancy serial number or anything like that, but just a beautiful, problem-free chief note here. One of my all-time favorite notes. One of my all-time favorite notes I own. Here's the reverse. Just as impressive. Check that out. And again, anytime there's a problem note or whatnot, if it's split, annotated, repaired, stained, it will say up there at PMG. That's where they comment on it. And this says John Burke backplate 1163, and what that's referring to is this weensy tiny little number up there. You see that in the top right? 1163. That's the backplate that printed this thing. So going back to what I was telling you in the front of how they designated this a mule note, you'll see up there, it basically means that the front plate that printed this was not the corresponding plate that printed the back. It's the same note, you know, the style, I should say, or whatnot. It's not an error per se. They don't declare mule notes as errors necessarily, because the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, which is the folks who printed this, is, and I've actually, side note, boom, check that out. Bureau of Engraving and Printing. There's my ticket stub. I was able to tour it. Highly, highly recommend. If you guys are ever in the Washington, D.C. or Fort Worth area, please go check them out. They print over $900 million a day. And I thought, dang, that's going to jack up our economy. And man, that's going to worsen our debt. And man, that's going to go ahead and cause inflation. And it kind of is, but 95% of it's replacement notes. Only 5% of it is actual currency that goes in to circulation as new currency. So keep that in mind. But anyhow, back to this. They've been printing, these guys, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing has been printing all of our money since the late 1800s. Before that, it was American Banknote Company, the New York Banknote Company. Those are the two big ones. And actually, I do have some notes in here that I'll show you guys. One of them that actually printed that, but I just can't stop looking at this thing, guys. Such a cool design. Such a cool. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, learn a little something. I'm sorry it's so long. I had to split this up and give you a sneak peek because the rest of my videos, I don't know how I'm going to actually get everything within. I'll have to do a half and half. I'll probably show you my large size notes and then my small size notes afterwards. But anyhow, I really hope that you guys enjoyed something on this video. You learned a little bit of something. You see why I'm so enthusiastic about currency collecting in general. I hope you too end up looking into it and starting small, you know. You don't have to go out and drop a whole gang of money or anything like that. First and foremost you should be doing is getting these books. Getting these books. This red book here is a must. It's just like the coin red book over there. It has all the different, you know, valuation of what it is, how many printed, you know, the different organized Friedman number and all that stuff like that. So highly, highly recommended starting with this book here. Gives you a great little description in the beginning about just, you know, currency in general, collecting, grading what you're looking for, different high denominations, valuations. You know, there goes the mules up there I was telling you about, a little description of that. Collecting of the United States currency. So just an excellent book. The American Numismatics Association, if you guys aren't a part of that, join up. It's $28 a month. And then you can rent any book, any stinking book that they have in their library, you can rent it. And that's what these are from, actually. You can borrow them for months. Borrow these things for 4 months at a time. And then you can continue to borrow them. So really, really cool. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this set. I really do. And thanks for watching. The next one that I show you all will be what's in here. I know you're excited. Check that out. Look what's in there. I'm not going to show you until later. Anyways, until next time, Silver Surfer out.